Okay, so here we are, 5.4, factoring trinomials in the form ax squared plus bx plus c, when, again, still we have a not equal to 1, but this time is part 2. So we're going to look at 3 ways that you can factor equations, and that'll work every single time. So the decomposition method. So if you think about what decompose means, right? Like something decomposes, it breaks down. So we're actually going to we're going to group factor, which means that we need to expand or break down or decompose the b term or the bx term. So that's really what we're going to do. So always you look for common factors first. So there's none here. 3, 14, and 8 do not divide by the same thing evenly. And we're still going to find 2 numbers, but this time we want to, actually I'm going to try to use the same colors. We need to find 2 numbers that multiply to AC. So A times C. So that means 3 times 8. So in the other method for factoring, we also really did one, A times C, but it was just an equation that would have looked like this, right? There was no term out front. So that's a 1. So then multiplying by 1 doesn't change everything. So now this time you need to multiply to figure out the terms to multiply the A times C to figure out which ones have to multiply to give A times C. And then B, you're still adding. So we're still looking for numbers that add to 14. So 24 has many factors, and what you're going to find when you do this, whether you use decomposition, magic X, guess and check, that you're going to find, because now we've got an A value that's not 1, your number is going to be usually bigger. So maybe here is a case where you really want a calculator with you. If you don't know the factors, like in the homework, for example, one of them was like 216. Well, if you don't know what the factors of 216 are, just start at the beginning, right? So 1 and 24 do not add to 14. 2 and 12, oh, yep, they add to 14. So you can stop. You don't need to show them all, but you could keep going, right, until you had them all that you needed. So now what we're going to do, we are going to, let me see if I'll use blue. So I'm going to number them the same way. This is step 2. Then step 3, it says rewrite B as, that's this term here, as a sum or add of the 2 numbers found above. Okay, so we're breaking down or decomposing that number. So 3x squared stays the same, and so does the 8 at the end. We're just changing the middle term, okay? And what we're going to do is, we're using this one here. So 2x plus 12x. Okay, so you could check your answer. So you want these 2 to add together to give 14x, which is what the question says, what the B value is, which it does, okay? And they also, so they add to give 14 and they multiply to give A times C, which is 24. Now, number 4 says to group factor. So I actually chose to write it like this on purpose because right now you can't group factor. So when you get good at this, then start rewriting your answer. I mean, you can rewrite it, it's no problem. But when I went to write down 12x and 2x, it doesn't really matter what order you do them in. But you could have taken a look and said, okay, well, 2 and 3, there's no way to get a common factor out of that. So probably, actually, maybe we can leave this. I like this. You know what? We're going to leave it. Looks good. But you can rewrite it. So I could have written 3x squared plus 12x plus 2x plus 8, but you just find your common factor. So between these two terms, 3x squared plus 2x, the common factor is x. So again, now we're grouping. I'm grouping these two terms. And exactly like the other group by factor homework, so if you did part 1, now I know that my second factor over here has to be 3x plus 2. So I'm going to choose something to divide in these terms, which happens to be 4. And then 12x divided by 4 is 3x. Excellent. And 8 divided by 4 is 2. Okay, so now we have the common factor we need. Let me just see if I can find a pink here. And again, it doesn't matter. You can write the common factor first, so the 3x plus 2, and then the x plus 4 second. It doesn't matter which one you choose. Okay? All right, let's do another one. I think it's helpful doing these questions to write like what this T-chart, and really kind of, to be honest, and no matter what type you choose, you have to be, if you can do it in your head, you have to be thinking about what A times C is and what two numbers multiplied A to C and add to B. So, you know, if you want to make the chart, just do it, okay? So A times C, so 2 times 12 is 24. That's what we're looking for, positive. And positive 11 is what we're adding to. So 1 and 24 makes 25, not even close to 11. 2 and 12, even with a negative, that wouldn't get us 11. 3 and 8, oh yeah, we can add 3 and 8 and get 11. So here this is the factor we want to use. Okay, and I just started at 1 and then stopped when I was ready, when I got what I wanted. So now I'm going to rewrite this term. I'm going to break it down or decompose it. So 2x squared plus 3x plus 8x. So again, check 3x plus 8x. If you simplified that, would get 11x. So we're probably good. Okay. Now we group factors. So these two terms and these two terms. So the only factor here is going to be x. And then this one, again, is going to be 4. Okay. And you could check by FOIL if it says to. So 2x plus 3, x plus 4. So 2x times x is 2x squared. 2x times 4 is 8x. Inside 3x plus 12. When you simplify, so today you will get to simplify because you're going to be given the expression as ax squared plus bx plus c. And we got what we wanted. We got our question back, which is excellent. Okay, so now we're doing 12 and times negative 6. So that's going to be, oh, here we go. So first, and you can do it second. I did one of the homework questions second, but really the first number one step, always check for a common factor. And usually when you check for a common factor, then it's actually going to make your life easier, and you can do smaller numbers. So all of these numbers are divisible by 2. That is a very common factor. Okay, so 12x squared divided by 2 is 6x squared. 14x divided by 2 is 7x. 6 divided by 2 is 3. So now you're factoring what's inside. So when you're looking for the A times C, you're going to do 6 times negative 3. And the b is going to be negative 7. So this is A, this is B, and this is C. I'm not worried about the 1 from the beginning. You can still check your answer the same way with FOIL. It would be one of the questions where you would have to FOIL the two binomials and then distribute the 2 at the end. That's the easiest way to do that. Okay, so now 6 times negative 3 is negative 18. So one of our numbers has to be negative. So we can do negative 1 and 18, which is 17. No good. Negative 2 and 9 gives 18. That also gives, this is positive 7, so we're close. So then we just have to switch the signs. 2 and negative 9 makes negative 7. So positive 2x minus, or negative 9x minus 3. And now you just keep the 2 and worry and group based on these 2 in here and these 2 in here. The 2 just is like, you just keep carrying it through. So now we're going to get 2x is our common factor. So 6x squared divided by 2x is 3x. 2x divided by 2x is 1. And let's divide by negative 3, because inside we want to end up with positive 3x and positive 1. Okay, so keep the 2, and it doesn't matter what you write, which brackets you write first. 3x plus 1, 2x minus 3. So the same sort of group factoring we did last time. Okay? Okay, so now on to guess and check. Oops. But really, when you do guess and check, you still have to be thinking, what's 2 numbers that multiply to give A times C and add to give B? So if you're able to do it in your head, that's great. If not, then you're still essentially making the chart. You're just doing it in your head. Okay, so you can look. So a good guess, since we have 3x squared here, it's probably one of the brackets is going to have 3x and the other bracket is going to have x. That's logical. And because 3 and 1 are the only factors of 3, and then you want the outside terms to multiply to 8. So we can do 1 and 8, or we can do 2 and 4. If you choose 1 and 8, then you're going to get 3x squared. Actually, make it simpler when you're guessing and checking. When you do your check, for the inside term, you just need to check the B term. So like this and this will give you 24x, and this will give you x. So that does not equal 14. That's not going to work. Okay, so that's not right. So let's try again. So you can see, like, if you're not good at or if you can't see in your head the factors, then to me, I just want to make a chart, right? So we have the other possibility is 2 and 4. But you always have to check when you guess. So we're going to get 3x squared. Good, that's right. We're going to get 12x plus 2x plus 8. So these are good so far. And then the middle term is 14x. So we're right. Okay, but to me, is that less work than factoring the other way? I'm not sure. But you can decide what you like better. Okay, so let's just do this simple one down here. So we have 4x squared minus 4x minus 3. So now when you're trying to do the x terms, we could do 1 and 4, or you could do 2 and 2. So again, now there's even more to check. So again, you kind of have to be thinking, well, if I do 2, then 2 times 3, so let's try 2x. And then we want to get multiplies to give negative 12. So we could do positive 1 and negative 3, and then you have to check 4x squared minus 6x plus 2x minus 3. Okay, so there we've got the 4x, the minus 3, and the minus 4x. You can also do one where you have to common factor. Oops, not 9, sorry. It can't be 9. We're going to divide by 3. Okay, so again, the same thing. We're just going to factor the inside. So now our number's easier because the only multiples of 3 is 3 and 1. So those have to be what's in our brackets. And then we want two numbers that add to negative 2 and multiply to give 3 times negative 8, which is negative 24. Or actually, so we've already decided the 3, so you can just do 2 numbers that multiply to negative 8 and add to 2. So you can, when it's easy like this one, when you've got 3x at the start, which only has 2 multiples, and we've already decided where they go, you can actually kind of streamline your process a little bit and just focus on these ones. So 2 numbers that multiply to negative 8 and add to negative 2. So that's going to be negative 4 and positive 2. But again, this is simple. These are the only possible choices. So if it's more complicated, I would choose one of the other methods. See, then it didn't work. So we got to change the sign. This should be positive, and this should be negative. See, so you always have to check. Check number 1, check number 2. Because we got a positive here, and we don't want a positive in our B term. So again, you have to decide for yourself. Is this more work or is this less work? There we go, and we have the right answer. Okay, so the last method is called Magic X. And in Magic X, it is very important that you common factor first. If you don't common factor in decomposition or guess and check, you can common factor after you've already got your 2 binomials. You can do it then too. We don't recommend that as math teachers, but you certainly can do that. But Magic X, again, you're still doing the A and the C. A times C and 2 numbers that add to give you B. So when you have these factors, if you can't see them in your head, then you really still are, having to make that chart. Now, you can also not write down the chart. You can just do it in your calculator, like do 24 divided by 2. And when it comes up 12, so then you can think in your head 12 and 2. You don't always have to write it down. But again, then it's a good way to go back and check. And if you don't get the FOIL right when you go to do the check, then it's easier to see the factors maybe that you could have used. It's really up to you. So when you do a Magic X, so this one is one of the ones, you can use Magic X for this kind. So A times C is -10 because the A here is 1. So we're looking for two numbers that multiply to, 10 and add to 3. So +5 and -2. So now those numbers become the numbers, I don't know why there's not one here, inside the brackets. So, but we're really focusing now on what if the A value is not 1. So we're still looking for two numbers that multiply to A and C and add to B. But the thing here now is, if you want to choose the highlighter but a different one, you have to divide by the A value. So the numbers that you choose have to be divided by the A value. And then another important step. So again, is this less work? You have to decide, okay? Let's pick really light blue. So you also have to reduce the values. So that's what this step is here. 9/6 can be reduced to 3/2. And -8/6 can be reduced to -4/3. So that's an important step. And you have to remember that the denominator goes with the x and the numerator becomes the number. So if you do it upside down, then you're going to get the wrong answer. So here, the 4 goes at the end, the numerator, and the denominator or the bottom goes with the x. So that's also something you have to remember. Okay, so there are a lot of things about this that you really have to, make sure that you do the correct procedure. Okay, so (2x² minus 13x plus 20). So you draw your little x. A times C, check for common factors, sorry. 2, 13, and 20 do not divide by the same thing. A times C is 40, and B is -13. So two numbers that multiply to give 40 and add to give -3. So again, if you're not sure, you got to go through it, right? So multiply to give 40, add to give -13. 1 and 40, no. 2 and 20, no. I don't think 3 is a factor. No. 4 and 10, no, but we're getting close. 5 and 8, okay? 5 and 8 can be added together to give 13, but if you do +5 and +8, you're going to get +13, so we need -5 and -8. Okay, and then we have to divide by A. So get out your highlighter, get back to yellow. So this is A, that's what you're dividing by. And you have to reduce if possible. So the first fraction here can't be reduced, but this one can be reduced to -4/1. So then you write your brackets. So again, the bottom goes with the x. So it's 2x. And then the top -5, and then, not this one, sorry. X -4. You have to use the reduced one. Okay, let's do another one. So check for common factor. 5, 16, 3, no common factor. So let's make our x. A times C is 15. B is 16. maybe this one's, oh, this one's easier. This is maybe, so this is one maybe you could do in your head. So we're going to do 15 and 1. Okay, so again, divide by the a value. Reduce. The other one can't be reduced, so this goes with the x. Five x plus 1 and x plus 3. Okay, so the homework on your note is correct. Again, please practice as much as you can. I'm not going to post 5.5 until late Tuesday or or at the latest early Wednesday to make sure that you have enough time to practice this homework. Okay, thank you.